If you were to look back at the 2018 NFL draft, even look before the draft, and you were to give me your official quarterback rankings, the quarterbacks who you think is the best and the worst coming into the draft, I'm willing to bet you either one or two you have a guy at a USC who went by the name of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold by far was the most polished, most ready to play quarterback in the 2018 draft. He was, by all scouts, everybody saw Sam Darnold as the top guy. So with that logic, dang, he should be the first quarterback selected, right? Well, in the NFL world, that doesn't happen, that doesn't matter, and that just didn't happen. The Cleveland Browns had the first pick, and the Browns needed a quarterback, and in classic Browns fashion, I'm a Browns fan, I know, in classic Browns fashion, they went ahead, they took the cocky, arrogant, confident quarterback out of Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. They went ahead, they took Baker. Fine, that's Cleveland's choice. That's their choice. So then you move on. All right, where's Darnold going to go? Where's Darnold going to go? Okay, Giants have the second overall pick. The Giants. Eli Manning's at the end of his career. Could that possibly be who they take? Nope, they do not take Sam Darnold. They take a running back out of Penn State who goes by the name of Saquon Barkley. All right, you took Saquon. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so next, you have the New York Jets with the third pick. Jets. Todd Bowles is the head coach. They have Josh McCown on the roster. They have a guy who Josh McCown can groom and teach, and a guy who he could learn from him. So with this third pick, they went ahead and they took Sam Darnold out of USC. Good choice. That was a perfect choice by the New York Jets. I love that draft pick. 10 out of 10 by the Jets. All right, so now we move into his rookie season, 2018. Todd Bowles is his head coach. They end up finishing 4-12. 4-12 was the final record of the New York Jets in 2018. Sam Darnold started a total of 13 games, and his stats in that sample size, he completed 57.7% of his passes. He threw for 2,865 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and a 77.6 passer rating. That's not terrible. And let me mind you, up until this season, his number one wide receiver was Robbie Anderson. He didn't have a running back either. I believe his running back was Isaiah Crowell or something like that. The only thing he really had on defense was Jamal Adams. That's it. So he did not have a lot to work with. And Todd Bowles was not the best head coach. So, he did with what he could. He had an okay season for what he had available to him. Now here comes next season, 2019. Todd Bowles is fired. So, he has a new head coach in just his second year. And the Jets go ahead and they hire a dude who was just coached in the same division, was just fired. He led his team to the playoffs in his stint in there. But from the Miami Dolphins, they went ahead and they signed as their head coach Adam Gase. Questionable move, but they understood. They thought he was a good offensive-minded coach, so they took Adam Gase. Okay, first year, Jets. This was Sam Darnold's stats for 2019. He had 61.9% completion percentage, 3,024 yards, 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and 84.3 passer rating. And keep in mind, around September, I think it was probably around September, early September, maybe the 10th or something like that, he was diagnosed with mono. There was jokes about it, everything like that, and he was out for a couple games. Finally, he returned. And towards the end of 2019, Sam Darnold was putting up really good stats. If you could have kept that up through the whole year, like I said, he had 84.3 passer rating. I think he definitely could have got past the 20 touchdown mark. Okay, Jets still did not do good whatsoever. They ended up still having a top draft pick in the next year. So now we go to 2020. So far, Sam Darnold has played a total of the 4 games. He has completed 59.4% of his passes. He threw for 792 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, with a 70.7 passer rating. And let me keep in mind, in 2019-2020, they added Le'Veon Bell to that backfield, and they signed Jamison Crowder to be a wide receiver. And also in this 2020 draft, they also drafted Denzel Mims. They drafted Mekhi Becton to put on that offensive line to help him. So they're trying to help out Darnold. They're trying to help out their young quarterback. Okay, so now we get to now. What makes me say save Sam Darnold? The Jets owe it to Sam Darnold to trade him. And here's the reason. I know Jets fans don't want to trade Sam Darnold. They don't. But the Jets are probably going to have the first pick. I think that they're going to end up taking Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. I think they should trade Sam Darnold. And I actually have some trade destinations, which we'll get into. But I think they should trade him because he deserves that. Sam Darnold, if you're going to sit here and say he's a bad quarterback, you are completely false. Sam Darnold is a great quarterback who's got the short end of the stick in his career so far. He's had to deal with Todd Bowles and Adam Gase as his head coaches. Le'Veon Bell has done literally nothing since he's joined the team. His best wide receiver he's ever gotten was Jamison Crowder. And keep in mind, I forgot to add this, before the season started, they went ahead and they shipped Jamal Adams to the Seattle Seahawks. So his one really good one defensive player went ahead and was traded. They ended up signing CJ Mosley also in 2019. He missed a bunch of time. He skipped out on this year. So now he literally has no defense behind him whatsoever. Offensively, his coach can't do nothing to help him. So Sam Darnold's sitting here, he just keeps getting injured and hurt, and it's literally just ruining the career of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is only 23 years old. I think teams should definitely trade for him, and I'm going to give some options right now, because you're getting a 23-year-old quarterback, and I'd give up a first-round pick for Sam Darnold personally. But that's just me. So, the first destination. I would not like this because he would be playing in my division, but I could see why, and that's to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I do not have no trade package that I think they would do or anything like that. I would think possibly if they were to give him up, maybe a third in James Washington for Sam Darnold, or even James Washington and a fourth for Sam Darnold, because James Washington is a decent wide receiver, but he's not really going to get much play time because they have Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, they have Deontay Johnson, who I'm a huge fan of, and for tight ends, they also, not saying he could play tight end, but they also have Vance McDonald and Eric Ebron. Their backfields, they already have weapons on that offense. Big Ben's towards the end of his career. I know he's playing good, but it would be so good for Sam Darnold to go ahead and go to Pittsburgh, learn behind a Hall of Fame quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, and eventually take over the reins and have Mike Tomlin as a head coach. Plus, Pittsburgh, in my opinion, has the best defense in the NFL. That would be so crazy and so important and so big for Sam Darnold. I think we'd finally really see, blossoming of Sam Darnold and be really good for him. And for the final option, for where he would go, I have him going, and keep in mind, another reason I ship it to the Steelers is him and Juju already have a connection. They played together at USC, and this kind of ties into why this next team, and I say the Indianapolis Colts, and here's my reasoning. Okay, Colts, once again, really good defense. Colts, really good offensive line. They just went and signed Phillip Rivers to a 1-year, $25 million deal or something like that. Okay? Rivers is not the option long-term. Rivers probably has a couple years in him, and he's playing average right now. Okay. Frank Reich, really good coach. Could really help him out. Okay. But they just drafted a certain wide receiver in the second round who went to USC by the name of Michael Pittman Jr. Okay, so Sam Darnold already has that connection with Pittman Jr. They've been proven to have a good relationship. I think this would be a perfect spot for Sam Darnold also. And I think he could really blossom. I think he could dominate that division because, in my opinion, the only real if you're talking a quarterback battle, the only competition he has in that division is Deshaun Watson, because people don't know what the Jags are doing with Minshew. Ryan Tannehill got overpaid on his contract. Deshaun Watson's the only real QB, in my opinion, in that division. Go ahead, put in Sam Darnold. Boom. You're going to have a real battle there in the AFC South. So that's kind of what I'm thinking they should do for Sam Darnold. He should get out of New York. Jets fans, let me know. I know you don't want to let go of a quarterback, but I'm a Browns fan. We did that so often. We draft a guy, he'd play a couple years, trade him, because he was so garbage and we couldn't do anything for him. The only quarterback I would say who was their fault, the reason they failed in Cleveland, was Johnny Manziel. Literally his own fault. Deshaun Kaiser wasn't his fault. Cody Kessler wasn't his fault. Then again, Cody Kessler was pretty garbage, but that's besides the point. But the important thing here is that if, for both teams, he gets a good coach behind him, he gets a good franchise behind him, he gets a good defense, he gets a good offensive line, he'll have offensive weapons, and he has a guy he can learn from in Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, both Hall of Famers. If you could learn behind a Hall of Famer, that's great. And for the Jets, if they draft Trevor Lawrence, that's perfect, because I literally think it's impossible for Trevor Lawrence to fail. There's no weaknesses in that dude's game. It's impossible for him to fail. Now, if you guys want me to see another video why I believe 100,000% the Jets are going to tank the rest of the year, even though they don't even have to try to tank, but they're going to tank, and they're going to take Trevor Lawrence with the first pick in the draft, let me know down below. That's going to be it for this video. I hope all of you enjoyed, and like I said, socials are down in the description below. Instagram, Twitter, hit me up in there. I appreciate all the support on the videos, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.